Welcome to Grow With Angie. I'm Angie, and these are my worms. Now let's talk about composting. It's easy to compost when you have a lot of property and you have a big compost pile out in the back corner of your woods, or you have an actual outside composting bin. But what do you do when you live in an apartment or you just don't have the outdoor space around your house? Maybe you want to compost inside during the winter months. Composting worms is not only easy, but it is very low maintenance. The worms will eat your food and then they'll poop. But what is that poop? It's called black gold, and it is pure black soil. Your worms will also make something called worm tea. Composting inside with worms is totally doable. There are a lot of DIY videos out there, but if you don't make it just right, you might have a worm escape or two. And who wants worms running around in their house? That's just gross. If you're on MeWe, please find my group simply called Grow With Angie. We have hundreds of members on there now. We have a chat room. If you have a question, we have an answer, or we think we do. Please join us there and continue this journey and your journey with homesteading. Okay, are you ready? Let's get started and create a worm farm.
We're going to start with the coconut coir brick. This is better than soil or peat moss. It will last longer and it will absorb water quickly, which will help keep your worms nice and moist. Start by adding some warm water and let that soak. Continue to add warm water, just a little bit at a time. It's better than putting it in a big bucket and walking away for a half hour and then getting that water mixture wrong. We don't want it to be too wet. You can turn it around, make sure all your corners get soaked up with water. And then you're going to slowly start to break it apart and rub it off. As you can see, once it gets nice and moist, it breaks off pretty easily. This coconut brick is a perfect pH of 5.8 to 6.8, which is great for your worms. If you order these from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm like I did, depending on the size, they're about $15 to $31. And as you can see, I've been working on this for a while, but it's okay, I don't mind getting a little dirty. We're going to continue to break this down, and then we're going to head on over and we're going to set up the worm farm. The lid, it will give you your moisture, your temperature, how to feed, and what to feed them to make sure your worms are nice and happy. This time around, I not only purchased my worms, but I got worm food and a worm blanket. This is how it comes packaged in the box, so I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out. So full transparency, this is a mistake I made. I added all of my new coconut brick into the worm factory, and I had some left over from the last time I used it, and this was just too full. So I ended up pulling it out and lowering the level down because I wanted to make sure I had enough room for food. But once you get the level right, I would say about halfway, you're going to make a nice big hole and you're going to add your worms to the center. There's no reason to pull them apart, spread them around. They'll want to be together just so they get used to their new home environment. So the worms do come with some dirt. And they'll be a little slow and lethargic because of the trip that they made. But as I added this dirt, I was a little too high. And I got the red worms, and they are big. Then I'm going to add some of the worm food, which is a dusting of food. It's like cracked corn and maybe some eggshells and a lot of things I probably could have had around the house, but I wanted to make sure they got a good start. Then you're going to spray everything and make sure it's all nice and moist. I also purchased the urban worm blanket from Uncle Jim, and it comes in a very large size. This is so you can use it for outside composting as well as inside bins. I'm just lining it up and trimming it to fit the inside of my worm factory. It's supposed to last a couple of months. I'm gonna keep what I cut off, and then I'll reuse that as a second blanket when this one breaks down. I'm just hoping the worms like this as much as I do. It feels really nice, and I think it will help keep them from trying to escape and staying inside the worm factory. Underneath your worm factory, you'll find a little tray. This is to collect your worm tea or your runoff water. I have a little bit of water because I had soaked my dirt that was in it previously. There's a little nozzle that you can turn on or off so it can drain it when you want to, or have it open all the time for a continuous drain. On the tray, there's little holes, and this is so you can pour out the water and use it to water plants in your house or water your garden. It's very nutrient-rich water. And I highly recommend a desk lamp to keep those worms inside for the first couple of days. All right, it's day 3. We're gonna check in on the little guys. They love this worm blanket. From everything that I've been reading, when they're bound up and twisted together, it means that they're mating. We're gonna have some new baby worms soon. And if you watch my other videos, you see I do hydroponics. And this is little leftover branches or smaller branches I didn't want, and that's going to be their food. But they're doing a good job spreading the other worm food that I purchased all around on their own. All right, it's day 7, 1 week since they've been home, and they are happy. I think if they could tell me that, they would. And we love this worm blanket. Here's some of their worm food. It clumps together with the moisture, and some greens from my iHarvest hydroponic system. They are just everywhere. If you dig around enough, you'll just find another big clump of worms. Right now, they're just running away from my lights. And I always check all corners. In this corner, I put coffee filters. I give them a little bit of coffee grounds and then the filter. These are unbleached, all natural filters, and they will just eat this thing up in a couple of days, and then I'll give them another one. And I see some more movement. There's another big clump. And they have gotten so big and fat since when they came home. So I think they're eating pretty healthy. Every time I check on them, I make sure I give them some more moisture. And I got a new spray bottle that has a bigger, wider mist to it. I get a lot better coverage.
So if you made it all the way through this video, I'm gonna leave you with one more thing. We are at almost 2 weeks, and I couldn't resist but open this up one more time just to show you. I gave them a rotten apple. Instead of just throwing it away and wasting that perfectly good apple, I shoved it in here. I'm gonna take a peek. And these guys came so far up to the surface, I can hardly even pull this out. Can you see all these worms? And look at that. And in 2 days' time, what's left of my apple? If you end up getting a worm factory and have questions or comments, again, please post them below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And we'll catch you on the next episode of Grow with Angie.